We're going to have several speakers that have said they would want to take part in the event this evening, and then we will open it up to anybody who wants to be involved. After our first speaker, we'll have Sam Mateer, John Schuchart, Marshall and Judy Weingarten, and I believe Murray wants to say something, and then we'll have the event open to anyone who wants to take part. First speaker, however, is a guy who also celebrated his birthday the same day as Paul. It was April the 23rd. He is the past president of B'nai Yehuda, the past president of Kol Ami, and the past president, in fact, the first president of this synagogue, Temple Sinai. In fact, next month he's going to be opening his presidential library, featuring audio tapes of the most contentious board meetings of his career. I first met him when I joined Kol Ami, and he was the president. And on a Friday evening I was there, and I was delighted to have the opportunity to meet the president of the synagogue. And I will never forget the first words that he shared with me when we met. He said, "Dues are payable in advance." Words to live by. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Gelb.
Well, Rabbi, it is indeed a pleasure for me to stand up here today and say a few words in your defense. Perhaps you folks are not aware, but the Rabbi and I have a lot in common. We were originally both from the East Coast. We were both born on April 23rd, and we were both affiliated with congregations B'nai Yehuda, Kol Ami, and Temple Sinai. I think, are you left-handed?
Yes.
We're both left-handed. So there must be something in our chromosomes that ties us together. If you find out, please let me know. No, with this crowd here. After retiring from Congregation Kol Ami, he again answered the call. He came out of retirement and became the rabbi for a new congregation to be formed out of the utter chaos that was happening at Kol Ami. And so Temple Sinai was formed. At a monthly rabbi president's meeting with Paul one day, he indicated he was expecting a very important call from the Internal Revenue Service. Good. Okay. Because I was there, he would put the conversation on speakerphone so I could hear what was going on. When the phone rang, Paul said, "This must be the call we've been waiting for." The conversation went like this. "Hello," Paul greeted. "Is this Rabbi Silbersher?" a voice said. "It is," Paul replied. "This is the Internal Revenue Service. I hope you will be able to help us." "I'll try," said Paul. "You know a man named Mike Shannon?" "I do," answered Paul. "Is he a member of your congregation?" "Yes, he is," Paul replied, to which the voice on the phone said, "Did he donate $5,000 to the synagogue's general fund last year?" To which Paul replied, "He will." I sometimes have the feeling that I should be wearing a black and white shirt to Shabbat services. Why? Because I'm considered the timekeeper for Shabbat and other such events. I must admit, I do watch my timepiece at such events. But take a guess, who taught me that? If you said, "A rabbi," you're absolutely correct. During our leadership training classes, I was told, no, better than that. The leader should always start and end the class, the sermon, the meeting on the scheduled time. So all I'm doing is what you taught me to do. But when Paul points to his watch, looks at me, he does get a few laughs. Based on Paul's and Judaic principles, Temple Sinai is a small Reformed congregation that does do some things that most other congregations do not do. Like gratitude candles, which you forgot to do tonight.
No, we're gonna do them later.
Oh,
At the
pardon me.
birthday, at the
Yeah.
birthday cake. Don't leave, you got special birthday cake.
Like gratitude candles at a Shabbat service, participants can share with the rest of the congregants something good that happened to them the preceding week. Or congregants can give sermons. There is a speakers bureau where congregants can sign up to give a sermon on a specific Shabbat. Or a telephone call to a congregant who is too sick to come to Shabbat services, at which time the congregation greets the sick person with a Shabbat Shalom. Friendly, of course. Non-argumentatively, emphatically so. And caring, something every congregation says they do. For Temple Sinai does not have to say it. We just do it, and it shows. I'm probably speaking out of order now, but one of Paul's greatest moments happened at a board meeting. Rabbi is always asked to say a few words, and I emphasize a few words, at the beginning of the meeting. When asked to do so by our president, he proudly stood up, threw out his chest, and in a strong voice bragged, "A week ago, I had my voice insured with Lloyd's of London for $1 million. A silence came over the boardroom. Suddenly a voice came from the back of the room and said, "So what did you do with the money?" As many of our potential or already golden years individuals, Paul requested that I relate one of our favorite stories that best express our sentiment about the golden years. So please accept the rabbi's advice. It could happen to you. As the lady exited the store, she started fishing in her pockets for the car keys. Not finding them, she realized that they must have been left in the car. Frantically, she headed for the parking lot. She had been scolded several times by her husband for leaving the keys in the car's ignition. As she looked around the parking lot, she realized he was right. The lot was empty. She immediately called the police and gave them her location, confessed she had left the keys in the car and that it had been stolen. Then she made that most difficult call to her husband. Almost in tears, she said, "Honey, I left the keys in the car again, and it's been stolen." There was a long silence. She thought the call had been disconnected. And then she heard his voice say, "Are you kidding me? I dropped you off this morning at the store." Now it was her turn to be silent. Embarrassed, she said, "Well, will you please come and get me?" He replied, "I will, as soon as I can convince this cop that I didn't steal your damn car." Welcome to the golden years. Paul, it has been my privilege and pleasure, along with the other members of Temple Sinai, to be part of this great journey that is our synagogue. It has been our choice as you led us out of frustration, searching, and questioning to a realization that each of us is only a small part of the whole, but together we make for a meaningful congregation. Thank you.